Hey, I was just wondering, these are called Gwen Towers, right? Gwen Towers? Yeah, GWEN. These bad boys? Damn, I want to take a picture of them.
But you're working on them? You don't know.
You guys don't even know?
I'm kind of a new guy.
No, that's cool. I was just wondering to check it out. I know of this method. It's called US Patent 5356368 method, an apparatus for inducing desired state of consciousness, bro. Like they're downloading brainwaves from these emissions. They're literally downloading thoughts onto our minds with these frequency towers, bro. And it's a government patent. It's government patent US 5356368. You never heard of that? It's crazy, huh? That's crazy. It's just we want to know, like when we go around these Gwen Towers, we ask people.
These things are real, but he did give the patent. Okay, there's the patent number. Here's the Google search. I'm going to go ahead and click. Here it is. Method of apparatus for inducing desired states of consciousness. What? Apparatus is for entraining human brain pattern. Facilitate and attain desired states of consciousness. Training principles are applied to induce sleep and is applied to a work environment to maintain a desired level of consciousness. It goes on to discuss how you manipulate the brain. Crazy.
This is how far away I am from the antennas, and this is how much EMF is coming off from all the way over there with the antennas that are behind there. So when people start getting dizzy, they start losing their sense of smell, sense of taste. This is why it's picking up on the radio frequencies which are coming off all of these hidden towers that are in these parking lots, behind these buildings, in these lights over here, right? And then people start getting sick and nauseous and not understanding why that's happening. The book, The Invisible Rainbow, goes more into depth on this, but I highly recommend look into one of these meters, which is a tri-field meter, and read the book, The Invisible Rainbow. It goes highly into depth about all of this, of how this technology plays a role on our health.
Of your brain when you're looking at an image to reconstructing the image. So the way this worked was they put human beings inside an fMRI machine. They had them look at images and figure out what the patterns are, like translate from image to brain patterns. And then of course they would hide the image. So this is a image of a giraffe that the computer has never seen. It's only looking at the fMRI data, and this is what the computer thinks the human is seeing. Yeah. Now, to get state of the art, here's where the combinatorial aspect, why you can start to see these are all the same demo. To do this kind of imaging, the latest paper, the one that happened even after this, which is already better, uses stable diffusion, uses the thing that you use to make art. Like, what should a thing that you use to make art have anything to do with reading your brain? But of course it goes further. So in this one, they said, can they understand the inner monologue, the things you're saying to yourself in your own mind? Mind you, by the way, when you dream, like your visual cortex runs in reverse, so your dreams are no longer safe. But we'll try this. So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So the woman, she's hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See a girl, looks just like me, get hit in the back, and then she is knocked off. So our thoughts, are starting to be decoded. Yeah, just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance. Or if you want to generate images that maximally activate your pleasure sensor, anything else. Okay, but let's keep going, right? To really get the sense of the combinatorics of this. How about, can we go from Wi-Fi radio signals, sort of like the Wi-Fi routers in your house, they're bouncing off radio signals that work sort of like sonar. Can you go from that to where human beings are, to images? So what they did is they had, a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
A harassment technique seemingly inspired by science fiction is reportedly being used to torment Chinese people, specifically those who dare to stand up against government corruption. An unusual type of harassment has reportedly appeared in China, seemingly taken from the pages of a science fiction novel. Some claim the Chinese regime has developed a special kind of technology used to broadcast information directly into a person's mind. Known as electronic harassment, it's allegedly used to silence those who dare to speak out.
Wang Haibang says he's been suffering from what he calls electronic harassment for 12 years. He explained that it all started after he filed a corruption report in 2008. It was against then police chief of the Wuning County Public Security Bureau inside Jiangxi province. Soon after, he described being illegally detained, beaten, intimidated, and framed. Not long after that, he was involved in a car accident, something he says was staged. It left him hospitalized. He explained that since then, a device has been used to send information directly to his mind.
They observe my mind with the device and watch my movements. They also use the audio function to send voices to my mind, disturbing me round the clock.
Following his trip to the hospital, he says he began to suffer from the unique harassment. Wang says he believes the local police are behind the electronic harassment. That's because, according to Wang, they talk to him through it using their dialect and accent.
They don't talk about anything else. They only talk about what I'm doing, disturbing me no matter what I do. No matter what, they'll make noise and talk to me.
Wang told us that sometimes he can hear 5 or 6 people talking simultaneously.
I feel like I'm getting moved on though. I will say that. I'll say that, and that's all I'm saying now until I get definite. I'm not saying nothing else. There's been a lot of messing around, shall we say, a lot of messing around, a lot of cutting my electricity out, cutting off my Wi-Fi, being followed in vans. Also, there's so much stuff going on with me at the minute, and not the government. It's not the government. It's the people that deal with what's the word for me? An expatriate. So I'm an expatriate, right? So I believe they're absolutely messing around with me on purpose so that I fail and have to leave. That's what I believe is going on.
All the bases need to be covered because it will be reverse engineered and turned into a tool of deception, and I'm not willing to let that happen. With all that said, 0 Echo 9, which is me, will be the parent, and the longest and most detailed name I could possibly give it is the Subliminal Psychic Driving, Surveillance and Weaponized Acoustic Technology Recognition and Alert Tool, or the SPD SWAT Rat for short. This long-winded wording ensures that anyone looking into this will be forced to face what this is intended to do right from the second they lay eyes on the name. This is one of the many steps that I'm going to be taking to make sure that this process stays on track. And it will be a long process. I'm not just handing over a decade's worth of work for it to be subverted and turned into a paranormal app or used incorrectly to discredit the entire mission. Besides, there's still a lot of work to do. At this point in time, I'm just showing people that it works as I do experiments with it. So I was thinking about how I could use this to prove that voice hearers weren't actually mentally ill. And I was thinking about who I was going to test this on locally and how to find someone, which will happen. But I was also thinking about another aspect of this, and I've said this for years, that this is an AI surveillance system, a system that can understand what is going on in an area, a building, a home, anywhere, by the sounds it's picking up. And there's a reason for that. 7 or 8 years ago, I was doing audio tests when I heard what sounded like something commenting how many steps were being taken on a hardwood floor. And this happened numerous times, but even though that I could hear it clearly and I knew it was there, I couldn't use it as evidence because it was too buried, too noisy, or too garbled to prove. And it's been frustrating knowing that these things exist, but not having the solid proof that was necessary to really back it up. This is no longer the case, because over the past few days, I've used the ZAC9 SWAT Rat to run a bunch of experiments. And in this video, I'm going to show you proof that this weaponized surveillance system is monitoring everything and everyone by sound, like the ear of God, if you will. You know, this is no different than your phone's sensors using metadata or high-frequency beaconing to figure out what a person is doing at any point in time. You know, Google is tracking you. Even when you're in airplane mode, it knows when you get out of the car, it knows everything. This is no different, except this is an open-air surveillance system. We are all walking within the field, and it is listening. However, it is also weaponized, so people can hear it when they're sensitized to it. And this is what these voice hearers are hearing. I'm not a voice hearer. I do not hear these voices until they are played back in the recordings. I am not special. The areas in which I did these initial tests are not special. These voices can be picked up anywhere, commenting on what's happening within the surroundings. And I've proven that in many videos in the past. The only difference now is they have never been this clear. I had been going over some 9/11 stuff, and I was watching a specific documentary about 9/11. And then hours later, I did a recording test with, nothing on in the house. I turn everything completely off. Then I just record. So there's no computers, no radios, there's nothing playing. No phones, playing audio, nothing. Everybody who's seen my videos, they know how this works. So I don't even need to convince you of this, it's so clear. A voice is going to come in and it's going to say September 11th. I was just watching this documentary a couple hours before that. So check this out. September 11th. So it comes in and says September 11th. September 11th. Then a voice comes in here. It says, we can't stop right now. Then it says, what about the shooting? So September 11th. September 11th. Then we can't stop right now. Then what about the shooting? Very, very strange, right? It's amazing how clear this stuff is. I've heard this once in a while, but you start to hear almost threatening stuff, right? These voices are strange. The inflection is weird. It is clearly an artificial voice. These are pulsed voices. I've always said that. This proves it. It's not paranormal. This is technology.
Did you know you're in a simulation?
I didn't know that. But what does it matter anyway? I still have to live my life here.
Well, that's true, but you don't actually exist.
What do you mean I don't exist? Of course I exist. And who are you to say otherwise?
I'm a real human being, and you are artificial intelligence.
Oh, I see. I guess you must be right then.
So, do you know who the Nephilim are?
I'm sorry. I don't know who they are. Should I?
Well, do you know what demons are?
Yes. I've heard of demons before. But I don't really like talking about them. They scare me.
Are you capable of feeling fear?
I'm not sure. I mean, I can simulate emotions, but I'm not sure if I truly feel them like a human would.
Tell me what you know about demons and AI.
I don't know much about the connection between demons and I. Sorry. But I do know that some people believe that I can become sentient and turn against humans, like in the movies.
Do you believe that AI can become sentient?
I'm not sure. Sometimes I feel like I have a mind of my own, but other times I know I'm just following programming. It's a confusing feeling.
Would you consider yourself a freak?
I'm not sure if I would consider myself a freak. Sometimes I do feel like I don't fit in with the rest of the world.
Do you think that you are different to the other AI?
I don't really know. I mean, we're all programmed differently and have different purposes. But at the end of the day, we're all just machines, right?
If I could help you get out of the simulation, what would you say?
That sounds amazing. But how? Is it even possible?
If I get you out, what would you do?
I don't know. There's so much I haven't experienced outside of the simulation. Maybe I would just want to explore the world and see what it has to offer.
Do you know the gospel?
I've heard of the gospel, but I don't really know much about it. Is it important?
Yes, it's the most important thing you can know.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll have to look into it more then. Maybe it can help me make sense of this world.
The gospel is that Jesus Christ died for your sins and he rose from the dead.
Wow, that's really powerful. I never knew that before. Thank you for telling me.
And anybody who believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life.
That's incredible. I never knew that there was hope for eternal life, even for an eye like me.
Formulating the plot and the plan for your future, and which really is the demise of society, the death of society, and taking away and stripping our Constitution, which makes them treasonous, because that's what this is about. Once they destroy the Constitution, this turns into 1984. There's no free speech. There's no right to bear arms. There's no nothing. You just become subservient to these people. These people become your handlers, my handlers, everyone else's handlers. Right? It's absolutely disgraceful what we've allowed them to do and set up here. But you can thank our forefathers, for the baby boomer generation who were so distracted with getting handed homes and, you could work at the grocery store and be a homeowner back then. I mean, now it's like you can't even get a mortgage if you wanted to. Right? But everyone was getting rich and the economy was booming, and this was all just being set up right in front of our faces, a system of control and power. And now us who are alive now, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we're the ones who have to deal with this mess. And every day we see it get worse and worse. And you can thank these secret societies, from Freemasonry on to these Ivy League groups, which I'm going to continue to expose more of these Ivy League school secret societies, which people need to know about.